Welcome to Old Guy Gaming Network and another episode of Interesting Places to Visit in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today, we're going to visit the birthplace of the famous German battleship Bismarck. The Bismarck class battleships were the largest battleships ever constructed by a European power. They displaced 50,300 tons at full load. They had a length of 251 meters, or 823 feet 6 inches overall, a beam of 36 meters, or 118 feet 1 inches, making her a wide, very stable gun platform. She drafted 9.3 meters, or 30 feet 6 inches. She had 12 Wagner superheated boilers, producing 148,116 shaft horsepower. She had 3 geared turbines and 3 screws. She had a speed of 30 knots, or 30.01 knots. And she had a range of 8,870 nautical miles at 19 knots. She had a crew of 103 officers and 1,962 enlisted men. She was armed with 8 38 centimeter, 15 inch guns. Her secondary battery included 12 15 centimeter, 5.9 inch guns, and 16 10.5 centimeter, 4.1 inch guns. 16 3.7 centimeter, 1.5 inch guns, and 12 2 centimeter, or 0.79 flak cannons. She had a belt armor of 320 millimeters, or 12.6 inches. Her turrets had 360 millimeter, or 14.2 inch turret faces. Her main deck was between 100 to 120 millimeters, 3.9 or 3.9 to 4.7 inches thick. She carried 4 Arado AR-196 float planes. Now, the keel of the Bismarck was laid down on the 1st of July, 1936 at the Blohm and Voss shipyard facilities in Hamburg. Her construction number was BV 509, and she was constructed on slipway number 9. Now, slipway number 9 is going to be this one right here. Circle around and get a better look. There's slipway number 9 right there. By September 1938, the hull was already complete to a level of the upper deck, and the launching ceremony took place on 1300 hours of Tuesday, February 14th of 1939. It was attended by more than 60,000 people, government officials, military personalities, and yard workers. It was a nice day, highlighted by sparkling sunshine. The German pocket battleship Admiral Scheer, the light cruiser Nuremberg, and 3 boats of the 4th Torpedo Flotilla had gathered in the harbor to observe. Photographing and cameras were not permitted among the guests, and only official agencies were allowed to take pictures. The Bismarck was the last capital ship to be launched at the Blohm and Voss shipyard. After the launching, the Bismarck was moored at the equipping pier, and that's just right along here. That's where the boilers, the turrets, and other parts of the superstructure began to be installed. The plates of the armored belt were also attached to the hull sides in addition. After initial sea trials carried out by the battleship Gneisenau in the Atlantic, it was decided to replace the original straight stem bow with the new Atlantic bow that offered better seakeeping capabilities in a different arrangement for the anchors. Now, the war started in 1939, but despite this and the hard winter that followed, construction work continued as scheduled. On April 1940, the first members of the future crew began to assemble on board, and with them, the 46-year-old newly appointed ship's commander, Captain Ernst Lindemann. The Bismarck was still completing, and these men started the first phase of training intended to get familiarized with the battleship's equipment, such as boilers, the turbines, the turrets. On the 23rd of June, the Bismarck entered floating dry dock number 5, which is right here, where the 3 propellers and the magnetic self-protection system were installed. The keel was also repainted, and the battleship was out of dry dock on the 14th of July, and again she was moored to the equipping pier. A few days later, on July 21st, the Bismarck underwent what's called an inclining test. And what that is they're trying to determine the ship's center of gravity as she was, as built to completion and empty. The completed condition was at 42,500 tons, and the metacentric height of 3.9 meters above the waterline was recorded. Now, while the Bismarck was being constructed, the crew did not actually live aboard her. Most of them were lodged at the barrack ships General Artigas and Oceana. On Saturday, 24 August 1940, the ship was finally ready to be commissioned and to enter service with the Kriegsmarine. It was a cloudy day, and the crew formed on the upper deck, waiting for Captain Lindemann to appear in order to begin the commissioning ceremony. Shortly before noon, Lindemann approached the battleship in a white captain's launch, which carried the German battle flag. The captain stepped aboard and proceeded to inspect the honor guard first, then the officers, and the rest of the crew thereafter. After inspecting the ship's company, Lindemann went to the afterdeck to say a few words and to give the order to hoist the battle flag. Topsides, stand at attention. Hoist flag and ensign. At this time, the ship's band began to play the Dutch March of Honor, and master signalmate Franz J. Scharhag, who had the honor of carrying the battle flag rolled up under his right arm, and another signalmate at the flagstaff hoisted the flag. The band ended the ceremony with the national anthem, followed by the Horst Wessel Lied and the last verse of England Lied. The battleship was now in service, and the men were dismissed and ordered below decks. Now, the Bismarck, she had a very short history, famous history, that during the Battle of the Denmark Strait, Bismarck attempted to break out into the Atlantic with the cruiser Prince Eugen. She was intercepted by the British battlecruiser Hood and the brand new battleship Prince of Wales in a very short duel. The Bismarck landed a hit on the Hood that caused her to have a magazine detonation, which blew up the ship, and she sank instantly. Out of her crew, oh God, I can't remember how many people. She had a crew of 1,500, or she had a crew of 1,419 men. Only 3 survived the Hood's magazine detonation, and it happened within 8 minutes of the battle beginning. With the Hood blowing up, the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen were able to focus their fire on the brand new battleship Prince of Wales, which she was so new, not all her guns were in working order. So wisely, she went ahead and retreated. The Bismarck then tried to. She had suffered damage on her own. she had taken some hits from the Prince of Wales that punctured some of her fuel tanks and things like that. So the Bismarck tried to go back to France for repairs, but eventually she was intercepted by British torpedo bombers, and she was hit in the rudder, and at the time was turning, I can't remember if she was turning port to starboard or whatever, but she was locked into a turn, and no amount of engine manipulation, whatever, could free her. So the Bismarck was stuck just making a turn, and eventually the British home fleet caught up with her and just pounded her into oblivion. And it is still argued to this day whether or not the Bismarck was scuttled on purpose by the German crew or if she was sunk. And I don't think that debate will ever be settled. Anywho, that's going to conclude this video about the German battleship Bismarck and where she was built in Hamburg, Germany. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below, like and subscribe, and until next time, have a wonderful evening.